What was Sonny Boy Williamson like as a person?
Well, he was 34 years old when I see my uncle had a butcher shop on 31st and Giles, and I used to work down there on Saturday and Sunday. I was about 12 years old, you know.
Uh huh.
And I saw a guy pass. Every time I see a guy with a guitar, I flag him down and give him the third degree, who he is and did he know Sonny Boy. So this guy's name was Lazy Bill Lucas. And I asked him, first thing I asked him, do you know Sonny Boy? He said, yeah, I know Sonny Boy. He said, Sonny Boy lived at 3226 Giles. That's just a block from the butcher shop, you know. So I
Yeah.
ran back in the butcher shop and wrote that down, 3226 Giles. So on Saturdays, a lot of times I was working at the store. Me and my cousin and all the kids, two or three of us, would go to movie theaters. This was a year before television came in 1947, but this was a year before television. There was movie theaters galore all over Chicago.
Woo.
So we would go and see the shoot 'em ups and everything. So I got my cousin and another kid named Pat Shea Jones. I said, we was going to the movie theater that Saturday morning. I said, well, come on, go by Sonny Boy's house with me. And they said, no, we'll go to the movies first. Then when we get out of the movie about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we go by Sonny Boy's house. So we took the elevator train from 63rd Street to 33rd Street and walked over to Giles and rung the doorbell. We didn't know what he looked like, you know. And this very dark-skinned, well-dressed guy came to the door, and he had a lot of hair on his head. And he said, can I help you all? I said, we want to see Sonny Boy. He said, this is Sonny Boy. I said, we want to hear you play your harmonica. He said, come on up. I'm proud to have you all. So we went upstairs, and he had pianist Johnny Jones that used to play with Elmo James. He was his guest at his house, him and a young lady. And I said, Sonny Boy, how do you make the harmonica say wow, wow, wow? He said, you have to choke it. So he started demonstrating, showing me how to choke the harmonica. And I said, Sonny Boy, I want to be just like you. He said, you're going to be better than me.
Wow.
He was really a nice guy. And he said he was 34 years old, and that when he was 12 years old, he could play anywhere in the United States. But he's from Jackson, Tennessee. That's where he lived at. So I
Wow.
met with Sonny Boy on another visit one more time, and the third time I went by his house to see him, he had got murdered. The landlady said, "Oh, didn't you hear? Say he got killed. They crushed his brains. He got robbed, and they hit him with something heavy and crushed his brain.
Mm,
So he got killed at 34 years old."
mm, mm, mm. I I every time I hear about that, I hate to hear that. But I'm sitting here in shock right now, just hearing you tell me Sonny Boy Williamson showing you how to choke the harmonica.
Yeah,
choke
that's yeah. You have to choke. See, today they call it bending the notes. All the white guys call it bending the notes, and all the black guys, the old adults, when I was a kid, they call it choking. When you get that wow, 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 and that blues sound, you have to
Yes.
choke it. See.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. I so let me ask you this. I want to know,
Hmm.
how did you get connected with Bo Diddley?
Oh, okay, that's another story.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
Old Diddley, he was playing guitar, and he had a guy with a wash tub with a string on it for bass, and make it sound like a bass. And he had another kid playing the maracas. So he would be playing on the street corner. So um, I told him I played harmonica, and he said, "Well, come on by my house." Said he lived on 47 in Langley, down the street from the 708 Club. He said, "Come by my house Saturday morning and play with us." I said, "Okay." So that's how I got hooked up with him. But his name was Ellis McDaniels and the Hipsters. And if you read the book, did you see that book that I got out?
Oh yes, and I want to
Yeah,
talk about that book too.
yeah. Well, his name was Ellis McDaniels and the Hipsters. And so the bass player, we was on 51st and Cottage Grove, and the bass player said, "Hey Ellis, there goes Bo Diddley." And I looked around. There was he was talking about a little short guy, about 5 feet tall, extremely bow-legged. He was a comedian at the Indiana Theater, and his stage name was Bo Diddley. Well, I had never heard that word before, and I just cracked up. I just laughed. Bo Diddley, I just couldn't stop laughing. So 3 years after that, when we was at Chess Studios, and he was singing the song "Papa Gonna Buy His Baby a Diamond Ring," and I said, "Why don't you say Bo Diddley gonna buy his baby a diamond ring?" And Leonard Chess said, "Wait a minute, hold it. What is that? What does that mean?" He didn't say, "I don't want to put nothing on the record that's going to offend black people." Say, "No, it just means a little comical guy." He was a comedian at the Indiana Theater. Now, the Indiana Theater was at 43rd in Indiana. It's a great big theater. They show moving pictures like a regular theater, every day. And every Saturday night they would have the Midnight Ramble, and they'd have Butter Beans and Susie. They featured a major blues artist. Muddy played there. The original Sonny Boy played there. Big Bill Broonzy played there, and this comedian Bo Diddley. That's where he was. He worked there every week. So
Absolutely.
that's how the name Bo Diddley came into the picture.
So and I know I read that you recorded with when you were recording with Bo Diddley in the Chef Studios. I want to know what was it like what was it like being a musician, being in the Chess Studios? What was that like for you?
Oh, Chess had the best. He was the best. Had the best recording uh, studio, and he was the biggest, recording record company. It was really good because Muddy Waters was on his label, Holland Wolf, all the major blues singers. Everybody wanted to get on Chess' label because Chess, treated him right. He was a good man, and so when we was making this record, I said, "Why don't you say Bo Diddley?" And so I was surprised. We thought the record was going to come out uh, Ellis McDaniels and the Hipsters, but it came out Bo Diddley by Bo Diddley. He named the song and the artist Bo Diddley. So that's how the name Bo Diddley got on records.
Wow! Oh my gosh!
If I see, I took him to two other studios before. I had made a record when I was 17, so I told him, I said, "Let's make some records." So I took him to VJ Records, and I took him to United States Records. And when I took him to United States, we rehearsed it for a week or so. So the man came up and said, "You guys really want a record?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, go up to Mr. Allen and say, 'We want a record. We don't want no money.'" That's exactly where I laughed. We want a record. We don't want no money.
Oh my
We went to
gosh!
VJ Records, and VJ, the secretary, was going to lunch, and she said, "What you got?" And we had a dub, and she put it on. She said, "I don't like that kind of music." So we went. I took him over to Leonard Chess because I had been to Chess before, and did audition by myself. And Phil Chess listened to the dub. He said, "I want my brother Leonard to hear this." He said, "Can you come by tomorrow at 2 o'clock with your equipment? And I want Leonard to hear this." So the next day we came by there with our equipment, and Leonard listened to the dub, and that was it. Instantly, he signed
Wow!
him up.
That is again amazing. Amazing. I'm in shock right now. I'm just in awe right now. Listening to you talk about um, your experience, you know, work, interacting with these different record labels. Um, I wanna I wanna ask you about. I know that you also you talked about VJ Records, and
Hmm.
I know that you um, had some recordings on VJ. Like I wish you would, and I
Yeah,
ain't got
right.
you.
Yes, sure did.
Do
Yeah.
you mind talking with me a little bit about um, those records and that experience? What that was like for you recording with VJ, and a little bit about how it was for you as a solo artist.
How it was for me to what?
How what was it like for you stepping out as a solo artist and working as a solo artist? What was that like for you?
Okay, well, when we went to chess, see, I went there as two artists. I had already made a record for a small label, and Bo Diddley he was nonchalant about it. He was a happy-go-lucky guy. He did construction work. He was 28, and I was 15, and Jody Williams, the guitar player, was 15. So um, when we went to chess, we went there as two artists, and the chess was only interested in him. So I told Chess I had a song, and he said, "Well, right now I just want to do this on Bo Diddley," and so I went to VJ Records and talked with VJ, and they did. I told them I played with Bo Diddley. I was part of Bo Diddley's band, and that's how I made her what she would.
Wow. Oh, that I want to. So okay, thank you. I want to ask you this: when you I know that when you were working back then in the 50s and 60s, there was a time um, at some point you started working as a bus driver and then you were also a parole officer. Am I right about that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, in the music business, you work in the clubs, and if you ain't got a hit record and you ain't traveling like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, who had those big records, you had to do some other kind of work. A lot of
Sure.
some people taught school. The musicians they be worked at the post office or teach school, and make ends meet until you get to the point where you can rely on music, but you just can't rely on music because it wasn't that stable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
What were I want to ask you about what were some of the I guess what are some lessons that you've learned down through the years, as you've worked as an artist? What are some lessons that you've learned and maybe even some advice that you would give to young and up and coming artists?
Well, I would tell a young up and coming artist to work on his craft and until he gets to the point where he can use his craft as to make a living to get a day job, you know, to make ends meet because a lot of times you work at a club and you might work there 2 weeks and the club fold up, uh, and it just wasn't stable, to live on it.
Absolutely. I understand that. And I know a lot of people, I know a lot of artists out here who work in a day job as well as perform at night, and I can completely relate with that.
Yeah,
Um, oh, go ahead.
some of the guys that worked at the Regal Theater, that the musicians that play the trumpets and stuff, and they read music. They worked at the Audi home as uh, supervisors, working with the kids, delinquent kids, day jobs. And some of them taught school. You
Yes,
know what I mean? Some worked at the post office, and they played the Regal theaters and all those big clubs on the north side where you had to read music to play. They played jazz or whatever.
absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Some played at the church. Played in churches and stuff.
Right, right. Absolutely. What are what are some, I guess let me ask you this, in your opinion, what are some of your, I guess what do you feel are some of your best releases or best albums, or you've got a long catalog of a lot of music. What are some, I guess, out of your catalog of music, what are some that I guess you maybe are most proud of, or just most memorable for you, or maybe most fun? Anything that sticks out or that you'd like to talk about?
Well, the songs I made for VJ, uh, I got, they booked me on the road at the New Era Club in Nashville and places like that. And then later on, the blues musicians started going to Europe on tours. They'd have you booked on a show with Muddy Waters, uh, Bo Diddley, or Chuck Berry, or whatever. So that was lucrative. You could make a good living there. they pay good money for the to go to Europe and all the expenses. But working locally around Chicago, if you're a side man, you did better. If you was in a good band, you work steady, you can make a living. Like Howlin' Wolf, all these musicians, they played with Wolf for years, and they work 5 or 6 nights a week.
Sure. Absolutely. What
Yeah.
was it? What was it like for you to record overseas? What was it? What was it like for you? And what was the difference from recording over or performing overseas to performing in the states?
Well, it was no different because the people overseas had the records and they loved all the blues records, by all the blues singers. And so when you came over there, they were waiting for you. That's why they booked you over there because your records played over there. They played them on the air, and you were just as popular overseas, sometimes more popular than you was in America.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard from a lot of artists who've told me when they've gone overseas that they really feel that fame and they feel like a celebrity when they go overseas to Europe.
Yeah. And some of them stayed over there. They meet women over there and fell in love, and they stayed in Paris. If you played in Paris or you played in London, and I played all the big cities. When you go over there, you play all of London, Paris, Spain,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yes, yes, yes. So I definitely want to talk about this book that you came out with, The Blues Dream.
Yeah.
Let's talk. So, what inspired you to write this memoir? What inspired you to do that?
I didn't write it. A guy named Kim Fields, who's a musician. He's a white guy and he plays harmonica, and he lives in Portland, Oregon. He
Okay.
asked me. He said, "I would like to do a book on you." He said, "You got a very interesting story." He said, and I was reluctant. I said, "Well, I don't know about doing a book." I didn't think I had enough the material to do a book. But he convinced me, and we sat down and made the book up. The book is all about my experiences from the 5 years old up to not today in blues music.
Yes,
And
yes.
I met Muddy Waters when I was 15. I met Sonny Boy when I was 12. I met all of every time I see a guy with a guitar, I'd stop him and give him the third degree.
What,
Who are you? Do you make records? Yeah.
when you met Muddy Waters, what was that like for you?
Well, see, I used to sell the Chicago Defender, the black newspaper,
Yeah.
on Friday. And I was 15 years old, and I was in front of the Persian Hotel selling the Chicago Defender. And I saw a guy get out a black 1948 convertible Buick. He opened the trunk and got a guitar out of the trunk. So I walked with him and I said, "Do you make records?" He said, "Yeah." He said, I said, "What's your name?" He said, "Muddy Waters." He said he had a big hit out at the time, Rolling Stone. That was his
Yes.
first major hit, and it was booming all over Chicago, all over the country. Rolling Stone. And that was the first thing I did you know Sonny Boy? I said, "Oh yeah, Sonny Boy was my partner." And he said he was going in the Persian Hotel to play for his manager, do something with his manager.
Sure.
So I just, I met all of them. I met Memphis Slim when I was 14 years old. He had a great big Lincoln with his name on it, Memphis Slim and the House Rockers. And I saw him come out of the store, and I asked him, "Did you know Sonny Boy?" and all that. Same old thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall. Oh my
Well, see,
gosh.
most of the kids, by me being raised in Chicago, most of the kids that I knew didn't like blues. They liked jazz. They was
Sure.
listening to James Moody, Sarah Vaughan, the Orioles, and people like that. And I was a rare bird because I really liked the down home blues, Muddy Waters, Sonny Boy Williamson, Big Bill Broomfield, Lil Green, all of
Yes.
the great blues singers from the 30s and the 40s on up.
Yes. 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 Indeed. And you, what was that? What was Bronzeville like back then? You talked about 31st and Giles, and you talked about a lot of
Hmm.
these different spots over there. I've heard it. It was hopping back in the day.
It
With
was booming. It was really booming. It was the place to be. The South Side of Chicago and parts of the West Side, and that's
oh
why people would migrate to Chicago because they had all kind of jobs here. They had the steel mill, they had the stockyard. My grandfather came here from Georgia, and him and his brothers worked at the stockyard. You could take care of your family, and they had construction jobs, cab driving, you name it. You could there was work all over Chicago. If you came to Chicago, you could get a job. You know,
yeah,
doing almost anything, whatever you could do. It was
absolutely.
booming everywhere, and you was on the south side of Chicago, and you didn't come in touch with white people because you had your own grocery stores, you had your own restaurants, you had everything. So when as a kid, I rarely had any contact with white people,
Sh- uh,
because there was no need to
Wow.
unless you go downtown.
Right. Right. And that's so and it's so interesting. You think about how it was back then, and then you think about now, and
Hmm.
how much some of the audiences have changed, for with the blues. um but that is.
The first time I went down south was in 1955 when Bo Diddley made that hit record, and they booked us down in New Orleans. So we he got just bought him one of those big carry-out, like a bus,
Uh-huh.
and to make the trip. And we went down south. That was the first time I wanted to go down south because I wanted to see what it looked like. 'Cause my family came from down south, but I'd never been down there. And it was a
Absolutely.
good experience. We went to New Orleans, we went to Memphis, and we went to Bo Diddley's hometown, Macomb, Mississippi. And Bo Diddley's hometown was a small town. You could stand on one corner and look about 2 blocks to your east and look clean out of town. If you walk 2 blocks, you'd be out of town.
Oh,
Either way.
what now, I do want to ask you, because you brought up, I know you brought up, we talked about Muddy and we talked about Bo Diddley. um what about Howlin' Wolf? What was Howlin' Wolf like?
Oh, he was a great guy. He was a very interesting person. He was a dynamic performer, and he was a guy that was very intelligent. He would I mean he ran his band, a good band, and if you played for him and he fired you, you could draw unemployment compensation.
Wha-
If you left his band, you could draw unemployment compensation. Oh, he was
Absolutely.
really a great guy, and he worked almost 6 nights, 7 nights a week. He was in demand.
Right. Absolutely. Whew.
And he was a chess artist. Him and Muddy Waters were the two biggest blues attractions in Chicago. Elmo James was here too. He came here when he made that hit record, and
Yes.
he played all over Chicago too.
And when we think about your career, and as we think about, um you've been performing. I mean, whew, I mean, I'm thinking about your career and your experiences with different artists out here. Um, I want to ask you a question about what is there anything that you still hope to accomplish or want to do, or in your blues career? I know you've I know that you've won the Blues Music Awards, and you've been honored by our blues community. But is there anything that you're still hoping to accomplish?
Well, just keep recording and performing. You get your kicks when you're on the stage. I played the blues festivals for quite a few years. In fact, I was supposed to be on the blues festival this year, but I told them I don't know about this COVID-19.
Sure.
Because several friends of mine, bands in California, they caught it.
Right.
Playing at different clubs and stuff. So the only thing I want to do is just keep on performing and keep on making records.
I heard that.
That's
I,
why I enjoy it. I go all over the world whenever I want to. They book me. So
yes.
it's the same thing. You just want to keep going. And do what you do.
Right, right. I heard that absolutely, and I know last time I saw you perform, it was before the pandemic, and I think it was at the blues. It was at the Chicago Blues Festival, and I know
Hmm.
everyone enjoyed you very much, and I know a lot of folks who are tuning in, would love to see Billy Boy Arnold again. So I know, some of us are waiting for COVID to settle down a bit so that we can get back to some normal. Um, but I is let me ask you: is there anything that the people should know about Billy Boy Arnold? And I'm going to make sure we let everyone know how they can get your book. I know it's on Amazon. Um,
Yeah, it's on Amazon. Yeah.
okay, and is there any other way that the folks can get your book, The Blues
I
Dream?
don't I don't know whether there's any stores or not. Everybody tell me they get it off of Amazon. It might be in the stores by now.
Okay.
You know.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'll make sure we share the link. I know The Blues Dream of Billy Boy Arnold is on Amazon, and those who are listening can go online now and purchase the book so they can read this book. I can't wait to get my hands on it. So, um, but is there anything else that you would like everyone to know about Billy Boy Arnold?
I just wanted to know that I love the blues, and I'm gonna blues it on out. I'm gonna blues it on out.
I know that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, Mr. Arnold, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. I know we've been on the phone for a while, so I thank you for taking the time on Super Bowl Sunday to talk with me. But
Mhm.
I really appreciate you, and I appreciate hearing some of your experiences and what you've witnessed down through the years. I think our audience appreciates it too. So I want to thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and I hope that we'll be in touch soon, and I'll make sure to connect with you. But thank you again, and I say be safe and take care.
Good blues to you.
All right, good blues to you.
All right. Take care.
All
Thanks a
right,
lot.
you too. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye. Bye.
That was Billy Boy Arnold, the legendary Billy Boy Arnold, on the line. We were talking for about 30 minutes, I believe, or so, and that was really interesting hearing about the, all these blues characters that we grew up knowing, all these blues artists, and hearing him talk about his experiences with them and his experiences on the music scene. And we want to encourage everyone to uh, go out and purchase The Blues Dream of Billy Boy Arnold. Um, it is available on Amazon, so you can purchase it there. Encourage you to buy the book and definitely support Billy Boy Arnold. So what I'm going to do